Thank you very much for being with us today. We're going to give you an update on the triple homicide that occurred on Friday night. Our detectives have literally been working 24/7 since the moment we received the first 911 call in order to solve this horrific case. This is a sad case. They're all sad, but this one's particularly sad. You've got three best friends. What is more wholesome than going fishing near Frostproof on a Friday night? And that's what they were doing. And when they went out to Lake Streety Road, which is described to all of us as a clay road to nowhere. This is a clay road that runs off of Highway 27 and it dead ends about 2.5, 3 miles down the road into Otto Polk Road, which goes back into 27. It's not a thoroughfare road at all. It's orange groves and cow pastures and a beautiful lake and a community, a quiet community, except for Friday and Saturday night. After talking to some of the neighbors, they said, hey, they gather up to drink and do drugs on Friday and Saturday night because it's a clandestine area. For those of you who are not from the area, Frostproof is a wonderful, very, very safe community. In fact, all of Polk County is very safe. Our crime rate's exceptionally low. But it comes as a particular shock to the Frostproof community because it is a tight-knit, small area. It's at the very south end of our county, and that south end of the county is exceptionally rural. It is about as far out in the woods as you can get. So on this Friday evening, these guys, as they do often because they are three buddies just this tight, or going to fish. We receive a frantic 911 call. When we respond, we ultimately talk to dad, and dad's home in bed asleep. He knows that his son's going down there to fish with his buddies. He receives an emergency call from his son, and all he can make out is help. Well, dad jumps out of bed, dresses, and runs to the area as quickly as he can, where he encounters his son's truck parked in the road and parallel with and pointed in the other direction so that they would be talking driver's door to driver's door is the car of Kevin and Brandon, or the truck of Kevin and Brandon. And they're all shot up. It's a massacre. He runs to his son's side, and he and his son are there in an intimate moment with his son actively dying, and his son is saying some things to him, which obviously we're not releasing to the public at this point in time. And that's maybe too bad for the suspects of the murder and good for the investigation. Then he realizes he doesn't have a cell phone. And he jumps in his car and he runs back to the community of Sunray, which is just about 5 or 10 minutes away, to a convenience store that, once again, he knows the folks, they know him. 911 is called. The 17-year-old daughter of the lady working in the convenience store goes back to the scene. And that's where dad now finds his son, who is dying, is deceased. There's been some question about, well, why didn't dad use the son's phone from there? Well, I don't know whether or not he looked for it, but he probably wouldn't have found it. We had a difficult time finding it ourselves after the fact when we were doing our investigation. And dad, in this hyper state of wanting to get help, wouldn't have been able to find the phone, I don't believe. So the investigation's been going on. The good news is, because of the media and social media, we've had well over 100 tips. Some of them look promising. Some of them are absolutely ridiculous, but hey, we'll take them all. We'll sort through them because we need the information. We still don't have arrest at this moment. We are following this case up. I can tell you we started out the Saturday morning with a first press conference with a $5,000 cash reward, and we usually don't start investigations with cash rewards. That comes later. We today are prepared to go from 5,000 to 15,000. Our friends at FDLE, the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, I talked to the commissioner twice over the weekend, said, Grady, we're here to help. FDLE's great. They're always our partners and are so professional. They've got all of their laboratories on standby. We are collecting our evidence at this time, and they're going to put a rush through on that whenever we send it to the lab. But the commissioner took that a step further. He said, we want to also add to that reward. And I told Commissioner Rick Swearingen, I said, I'm going from 5 to 15 on Monday. He said, count us in for 10 more. That's 25. The Florida Sheriff's Association said, we'll do 5 more. So I'm here today to tell you there's a reward of $30,000 at this moment in time, just for information that leads to the arrest of these horrific criminals. And we believe there's more than one. There may not be because we don't have them yet. But when you look at the crime scene and you look at what we saw, it gives us reason to believe, at least at the early stages of the investigation, that there was more than one suspect. But just for information leading to an arrest, you can make $30,000 and stay totally anonymous. You simply dial 1-800-226-TIPS, Crime Stoppers. They'll give you a code number. You give us information. We don't ever have to know who you are, and we can solve this crime. But we have to think about this. What's more wholesome than going fishing? 3 buddies going fishing. We can all identify with that. And then being shot down in the middle of the road during the nighttime hours. We've got to bring these people to justice. It's important to understand that they've killed 3 people. They have nothing to lose at this point. We don't believe, have zero evidence to believe that they're out looking for people to kill. But we also know that for whatever reason that somebody else crosses their paths and makes them mad, they have nothing more to lose. So it's important that we, as a community, all work together to make sure we get those folks locked up sooner rather than later. Are there any questions?
Sheriff, do you believe this was random or these guys were targeted?
You know, when I stand behind this podium most of the time and talk about murders, I talk about either a domestic relationship gone bad or drugs, and that doesn't seem to be, at this point in the investigation, the event at all. This does not look like a drug deal gone bad. We have zero evidence of that. It does not appear to be a domestic event. We don't know the reason at this stage of the investigation. Was it something as simple as the 2 guys or the 3 guys in the 2 vehicles, because Damien was in a red truck and Brandon and Kevin were in a white truck, that they pulled up side by side and talked about their fishing strategy and blocked the road and made somebody mad? Or did somebody follow Damien down there and shoot him, which is one of our theories? And at that time, Kevin and Brandon drive up, and it's, my goodness, they've shot and killed one, so they shoot and kill the witnesses. We just don't know. It's speculation at this point. But 3 people died, 3 very close friends, doing what millions of people did across this country this weekend, and that's fishing with friends and enjoying their time away from work. That's why we need help. Frostproof is a safe community, and it has shaken Frostproof to its very core. Any other questions?
You said that it was brought from 5,000 to eventually 15,000, and then was it FDLE commissioner came in and brought it to 25,000?
And Florida Sheriff's Association brought it to 30,000.
30,000, that sounds like you guys are desperate for tips. Would you use that term? I mean, are you?
No, I wouldn't. I would say that we are actively doing an investigation, and we want to solve this case sooner rather than later. I don't ever want somebody to say that we didn't do everything we could to get a triple murder solved as soon as possible. And then our colleagues from Florida Department of Law Enforcement, simply very professional, great teammates, always there to support us and help us. I can't say enough good about FDLE. And our friends and colleagues at the Florida Sheriff's Association, that team represents all of my colleagues. They wanted to help. So this money has just exploded. I was going to 15 today, and they go, "Nah, Sheriff, let's bump it up some and make it even more interesting." Look, there are people out there that'll give their brother up for $100. This is $30,000 cash, no taxes. We don't even have to know who you are. We just need information.
Sheriff, normally you guys like rely upon like surveillance video there. I mean, that's a remote area. How
It-
much more difficult is that gonna make it?
It is a remote area. It's an exceptionally remote area. We've had a lot of cooperation from the neighbors in the area. They've told us everything that they're aware of. We are looking for surveillance cameras right now on homes and businesses throughout the geographic area. Our analysts are putting together data that we're gathering. So we not only have detectives on the ground doing work, we have our analysts working with different pieces of what we believe is potential evidence. Our analysts are behind the scene working up information we've put together. We've also processed and are in this process. We have also processed and are currently processing items of evidence at different locations, and obviously the vehicles that we took into custody over the weekend from the crime scene. So there literally are dozens and dozens of people working this investigation around the clock right now.
Where were their bodies found? Were they in the trucks? Any reason to believe they were pulled from the trucks?
We're not releasing the information about where and how we found the bodies. That gave us a lot of information that we're working on in this investigation, but it wouldn't be appropriate to release it right now.
Have you guys talked to the families of the three men, and have they been able to give you any sort of indication or any clues as to what may have happened behind the scenes?
Our detectives have met with the family and friends of the family, and they're being totally cooperative with us at this point in time. And what we have learned from them, obviously, we are not at liberty to share right now. If there was something we needed to share in order to generate more information, we would do that. As you know, according to Marcy's law, on Saturday morning, by law, we couldn't even release their names. And that's a weakness in that Marcy's law. So we went to the family of each of the men and we said, we think it's important that people know who these young men were. They're like 23, 27, 30 years old. Know who these young men are so that we can generate the interest in, oh my gosh, I'm from the Frostproof area. I know who that is. I'm from Avon Park. The families were totally cooperative, said, yes, release their names, release the information you need to release so that we can get all of the information and solve this sooner rather than later.
Sheriff, you alluded to it a little bit with the cell phone and one of the victim's fathers, but we know rumors are swirling on Facebook. Some family members are getting harassed and targeted by these people who think they figured this thing out. What do you think about that? What's your message to those people?
Well, first, I've had editorial comment about social media in the past. Oh, most people are well-meaning and want to help. And for that, we're grateful. There's a handful of nuts, and you need to shut up and get off of Facebook and leave the families alone. For those that are well-meaning and trying to help, thank you from the bottom of my heart. There are evil, mean, sinister people out here that are in fact upsetting the family. And the families took that risk by identifying their children, but to them, it was worth the risk so that we could get the information out so that potentially we can solve the crime sooner rather than later. And that's what we're after. We're going to work nonstop until there's absolutely nothing left to do. And my bet, because our homicide detectives are simply the very best, we've only had like 2 unsolved homicides in the last 11 years. My best guess is we solve it. I believe it. But solving it later is not acceptable. We need to solve it now. So that's why we need the community's help, because someone out there, someone watching your television program or social media is a lot of good with a little bad mixed in, knows, because they've said, oh my gosh, my brother, my sister, my uncle, my aunt told me, or they ran to me because they were afraid, or they came here and asked me to hide a gun. Somebody knows something. And that somebody that calls us makes $30,000 and never ever has to testify. And that's what we're banking on. When anyone loses their life to a murder or for any other tragic reason, it is horrible. But to think these 3 young men were gunned down at night on the way to fish in a very quaint, quiet, safe, Frostproof area shocks the conscience of not only the people in Frostproof, but as I've learned, throughout the United States, based upon the media coverage this weekend.
One final question for me. Are you absolutely convinced that it was one person or multiple people that committed this?
I'm not absolutely convinced of anything at this point in the investigation. When we give you information, as we say and have said all along in every investigation, our goal is to provide as much information as we comfortably can, because some things you have to keep confidential so that when you come across the real killers, you know that they didn't watch it on Facebook or social media or the evening news. So I don't know whether it was more than one for an absolute unequivocal fact. I'm giving you the best information that I know at this moment in time. And quite frankly, all of this is subject to change as the investigation goes on. But we're giving you the best information as quick as we can. And then we'll come back and correct it when we get better information or if our conjecture is wrong. And that's what we're doing. We're looking at evidence. We're looking at a crime scene. We're talking to people in the community, friends and family, and we're making assumptions based on that data. And we're sharing some of that with you. And some of this may not be accurate when we get this case solved, but we'll come back and straighten that out at the appropriate time.
One more question. Can you speak on the family as it relates not only to the investigation, but just sort of the feedback you've gotten from them and the confidence that they have in this case?
I personally have talked to one of the young men's significant others. and she is crushed, as you can well imagine she is. Our detectives have worked hand in glove with the families of those that have died, and they're crushed, as you would expect. They have been grateful. They recognize that we're working 24/7, and it's not one or two detectives. It's not a team of just a team of detectives. It's detectives and forensic analysts and crime analysts and homicide analysts, that we've got a huge team working around the clock. We're investigating this case as if they were our brothers, our personal brothers, because that's how we investigate crime here at the sheriff's office. So we're going at this with all the energy as if it were our personal brothers, because you know what? It is somebody's brother. And we care about that. And we want to solve it. We want to be the voice for those young men who lost their voice on Friday night when their life was snuffed out by some nasty, evil person or persons. And that's what they are. They're nasty, evil, ugly, mean, murdering people. And I would use other adjectives, but you'd bleep it out when it went on the evening news or social media. I'm angry with whoever would do this to these folks.
Do you consider this person a person's a serious threat to the public?
Do you know, anytime that you have a murderer that's not locked up, they can be a threat. But let me underscore, there is no evidence or information at this point in the investigation that there are people out here on a murdering spree. None. For whatever reason, and we don't know, you had three buddies and you had some murderers that crossed at this point in time. But do I think there's a murdering spree out here? No, we don't see that. If I thought it, if we believed it, if there were evidence to that, we would certainly tell you, because we would want everyone to be on their highest guard. But I do tell you this, any person or person that's killed three people, if you cross them, they have nothing left to lose. So I would cut a wide berth around anybody that you normally have conflicts with at this point in time, because this person may go off on you too. So once again, we don't know what we don't know. All we know is what we do know, and what we need to know is who they are.
Is there any reason to believe that anything had been taken from these guys?
Obviously, we don't eliminate that, but we saw items in the trucks that was certainly worthy of theft that weren't taken. Now, that's not to say there was something there that we don't yet know about that wasn't, but we certainly saw items of value that had somebody just wanted to be stealing would have stolen. We don't see that. So we don't see any obvious reason for theft. We don't see any obvious signs of a dope deal gone bad. We don't see any signs of a domestic violence event at this moment in time. So we still don't know why the murder occurred. Usually it's not as complex. Anytime we work these investigations, usually it's not as complex as some novel you read someplace. Usually it's something as simple as, when you find them, where they were parked in the road and wouldn't get out of the way. But we don't know what we don't know. So anything is speculation at this point in the investigation. Anything else? I can't wait till I get to stand back before you and tell you we have this crime solved. And I'll be able to do that when some of your constituents and clients and viewers help us out. Take care. God bless you. See you later.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to WTAF. I'm waiting for Amy to unmute her mic. I tried to do it. She may have stepped away. Oh, there she is.
I just needed a little prompting.
It's okay. It's all good. So, we have a lot of new people in the chat. Welcome, everybody. It's good to see you here. Thanks for joining us tonight. We have a lot of things to discuss.
We certainly do.
If you are new here, I'm Danielle.
And I'm Amy, and this is Wicked Truths and F-Bombs.
If you're not new here, you know us well. I think I gave a disclaimer earlier about my huskies. I'll say it loudly with my voice now. They're prancing around the house. They're being loud, so just pretend like you don't hear that in the background. We are going to get to business here and get right to it on this case.
Awesome. I just want to remind everybody that we do have some family and friends in the chat tonight. So we're always kind to each other, but let's be extra respectful this evening, okay?
Yes, please be extra respectful. We don't need any insinuations against any of the victims, regardless of any past history that any of these victims have. These are people's sons, brothers, fathers, cousins, friends, grandsons, all of the above. Please try to put yourself in the victim's family's shoes and what they are going through right now. And if you wouldn't like it said to you or about your family, please don't say it to them or about their family. Let's be kind.
Right.
So I guess we'll go ahead and get started. It's great to see so many familiar names down there in the chat.
It certainly is. So we wrote a little intro. Do you want me to read it just to get everybody up to speed?
Yeah, go ahead. I'll let you take that one.
Okay, so I'm going to set the scene for you guys. Everybody knows we're trying to start out in different ways and kind of figure out what our groove is. So tonight, I will kind of paint a picture for you. On a balmy evening in the remote rural town of Frostproof, Florida, 3 young men made plans to meet up at a lake spot familiar to them. This wasn't a rare occasion. They often set out to catfish off the shore late night, with the moon being their only source of light. Damian Tillman, just 23 years old, arrived first. He was the youngest of the 3 men. He parked his pickup truck and was almost immediately ambushed by unknown individuals. He was violently beaten. He was shot, and ultimately law enforcement called what happened to him both a homicide and a massacre. Shortly thereafter, Brandon Rollins, 27, and Kevin Springfield, age 30, arrived just at Lake Streety Road. It is unclear if they had plans to meet Damian or if they just happened to also decide to go fishing that night. Whatever the case, their arrival coincided with the murder of their friend Damian. They too were ambushed, beaten, and shot in what we must assume by whom we must assume were the same unknown suspects. It is believed that Kevin died after being shot. It appears the 3 men were left for dead. Even though many have described the scene as overkill, Brandon managed to survive. He called his father and uttered the word help. Brandon's father, Cyril Rollins, was in bed. He knew his son had plans to go fishing that evening, and he too was familiar with the spot. He quickly threw on some clothes and rushed down towards the lake. In his haste, he forgot his phone. Once at the lake, he was overwhelmed with the bloodshed and the condition of his own son. Without a phone, he chose to leave the scene and travel to a nearby convenience store. There, EMS and 911 was called. The time was approximately 10:06 p.m. Cyril and an employee of the convenience store then returned to the lake. Paramedics arrived, and it was too late to save Brandon, and he succumbed to his injuries. 3 friends had plans to go fishing last Friday night. It was nothing out of the ordinary, and yet it ended up being the last day of their lives. As with all the cases we cover, our goal is to get justice for those victims. And tonight we strive to honor the memory of Damian Tillman, Brandon Rollins, and Kevin Springfield. Please keep in mind that there may be family and friends in the chat or listening this evening. And as always, don't mention any other creators' names and be kind to one another. Now the case is in the very reputable and capable hands of Sheriff Grady Judd, Polk County, as well as the FBI. So now that I kind of gave you a little overview, we can get into the specifics.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I'm going to actually jump to some things that were said within the press conference today. We discussed this in our Facebook group. I know that I have shared the link to that group down in the chat, and all of our amazing mods down there. I've been trying to show them some love. If everyone in the chat could show them some love, they work hard to help us keep this channel going, and we wouldn't be able to do it without them. So make sure to show them some love. Anyways, they are dropping links as well to our Facebook group where we are currently discussing this. So Sheriff Grady's statements today, this is just a basic breakdown of what he said. I know some of you watched the presser here that we played live before we started. Some of you watched it earlier. Some of you watched it on YouTube, on Facebook, wherever you saw it. Some basic things that he said. He made it a point to make it clear that Polk County only has 2 unsolved homicides in the last 2 years. He also stated that if info was relevant to catching the suspect or suspects, that info would be shared. Sheriff Grady stated this does not appear to be a drug deal gone wrong and or drug related. He also stated that this does not appear to be related to a domestic dispute. Evidence is being processed at different locations besides the actual crime scene itself, and there are dozens and dozens of investigators currently working on this case. The sheriff stated he believed that there was very little threat to the public of this being a spree murderer, but remember that whoever did this has nothing left to lose. In other words, if you have suspicions, use caution. If you think there's a suspect that you know of, don't approach them. Call the Crime Stoppers number that our mods are dropping down in the chat. There is currently a $30,000 reward offered. I would like to say, as of yesterday, that reward was only at $5,000. So within 24 hours, a little over 24 hours now, that the reward for information leading to the arrest of the person or persons who savagely killed these 3 young men has jumped to $30,000. That's a significant jump in a short period of time. And it's very telling because that just shows you how hard Polk County, along with the FBI and other agencies, are working towards getting information to get this solved. Another important thing that was mentioned within the press conference is that items of value were not taken from the trucks. There were things inside the trucks that had a significant value, and they were still there. So authorities don't believe that this was a targeted threat as in a robbery, but they also said that doesn't mean that something wasn't taken of value from the trucks that law enforcement doesn't know about. What else did he say? The sheriff said this could be as simple as someone getting angry that 2 trucks were stopped in the middle of the road, blocking the road. I will just add my personal opinion on that. I think that was possibly an investigative angle for him to say that. I don't believe that. That doesn't mean that you don't have to believe that. That just doesn't make sense to me, as well as our team, that this ambush would have happened because of 2 trucks being stopped in the road. Because from our understanding, Damien was there first. Damien was attacked and killed, and then his friend showed up. So the attack happened before there were 2 vehicles stopped in the middle of the road. And In the words of Sheriff Grady, we don't know what we don't know. So there's a lot left to be learned, and it did sound like law enforcement themselves are speculating. They're trying to come up with the same conclusions, and they had some nice things to say about the public helping as far as social media. And for the ones who aren't being so kind, Sheriff Grady pointed that out as well. So please be kind. That's all.
Definitely. Definitely. If you see family and things like that, just be respectful and
Right.
yeah. So
So I guess we will move on and go over what we do know, Amy.
sure. So we kind of put together a little list, a little kind of snapshot of who each person was. So if you want to go, we can kind of go through that. Fast facts on the victims. Do you want to start with Kevin?
Yeah, I do. One moment. Just one moment.
Sure.
I have to.
Now, in the meantime, I'm going to try to do this quietly without.
Okay. So we're going to start with Kevin. Kevin Springfield. He is, I believe, currently still married to his wife, Sarah. They were married on November 20th, 2015. She is currently in jail and was in jail at the time that this happened. I don't believe that they're together. From my understanding, just looking at his Facebook, seemed like he was single because she has some of her own issues going on. He is 30 years old. From what we've been told, he has 9 kids total. He has 5 kids with one of his exes that he was with for a significant period of time. We have been unable to verify if all 9 kids are biologically his at the time of this live, meaning we don't know if the other 4 kids besides the 5 that we know of are biologically his or if he played a father role to them. We will clarify that and get the answers to that. Kevin was friends with Brandon Rollins since he was a small child. They've been best friends basically their whole lives. And we've been able to verify with a confidential source that Kevin and Damien, am I saying his name right? Damien, or is it Damon?
It's Damien.
Okay. They've been friends for at least 5 years that we've been able to track down with our confidential source. Damien, you guys will have to remember, is only 23 years old. So he was the youngest victim. His name is Damien Tillman, 23 years old. He kind of seems to be the odd man out, only for a couple reasons. He's much younger than the other 2 victims, and he was alone when he was ambushed and murdered. So that is making questions arise. I apologize if you hear my kids in the background. That is making questions arise as in, was this targeted against Damien and his 2 friends just happened to show up? Or is there something else that we don't know about yet? I think that we're going to slowly learn the specifics of this case and everything that unfolded, but right now we don't know. And it's kind of hard to speculate.
I just wanted to let you know, I just got clarification. All 9 children are biologically his.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I wasn't able to clarify that earlier, and I wasn't trying to say like anything poorly. I just didn't know.
No.
Yeah, I didn't know if he had taken on the father role to the additional 4 children, and they, that was their dad, even though he wasn't biologically their dad. So thank you for clarifying that.
No worries.
Where did I leave off? Okay, so the night of July 17th, Damien allegedly had plans with a woman to go fishing. And that is per that woman's statements that she made herself. She stated she had to cancel due to obligations to her children. Damien recently got in a fight with another male. That male has publicly denied any involvement with the murders. I would like people to also consider, because I see this man being crucified. I would like people to consider that just because two people get into a fight doesn't mean that that person they got in a fight with came back and murdered them. We don't know that, so I don't think it's fair to throw that speculation at somebody's name unless there's some solid concrete proof.
No, definitely not.
You can ruin somebody's character and reputation in life by doing that. So again, that person is not listed as a suspect at this time. And Amy, if you want to go ahead and do you want to go over Brandon
Sure,
or
yeah, sure. I'll go over the next one. I just wanted to say we did reach out to a couple of people. We had some conversations about Kevin, and he was a good friend. He was a good father, and he was. This is very sad for all that knew him. So, just keep that in mind when you hear these facts. These are real people with real lives, and there's real people that are left behind mourning their loss and trying to make sense of all of this. So, do you want me to do, let's see, Brandon was in a stable relationship with a woman named Jessica Stinson. I'm not sure I'm saying her last name right. She had moved from Jacksonville to be with him. Jessica recently made this Facebook post. How do I go on without you? How is any of this fair? We had our ups and downs like any relationship, but I fought for you and with you. I love you so much, and I'm just ready to wake up from this nightmare. I'll never forget you, and I'll always love you. No one will ever forget who Brandon Rollins is. Fly high up there, baby, and catch all the hogs. Oh, please tell my grandpa hi. And then she hashtag won't rest until justice is served. I need you, missing you. And through our understanding, Brandon really loved the outdoors. He was a country boy. He enjoyed hunting and fishing. But most of all, he loved his two dogs, Lucy and Wrangler. And Jessica there's some photos online. She recently took the dogs out to the site to kind of say goodbye and let the dogs be in the last place where he was. That's how important they were to him. And we're not really sure where everybody fits in here, but these people are deeply, deeply missed.
Yes, they are. And I just have to say hi to my buddy down there, Musty Chesticles.
Hi, Musty.
He said that's his real name. I don't believe you. It's your real YouTube name.
Right.
It's your real YouTube name. But I just said it for the first time ever in full. Anyways, so
I do have, let's see, if you can bear with me 1 second. I'm trying not to make too much noise clicking around here, but let me do this. I had a couple of people send me some things that they wanted read about the victims, and Michaela Martin, if you're listening, she wanted me to say that Damien was a good person, and so were her friends. She says, Damien, you know who you are. God has a purpose for everyone, and justice will be served. And then April Marie Kenyon messaged me. She's a relative of Kevin, and she wants everybody to know. She told me that let's see. She said, growing up, he was kind-hearted and would give you the shirt off of his back. I remember it would always get so hot. We would come up with ways to cool off, including making a huge mud puddle in the driveway and getting so muddy and dirty. He never liked wearing shoes much either. He loved his parents, his siblings, and all his nieces and nephews, right along with friends that became family to him over the years. He is already deeply missed by all of us, and I know his siblings and his father are taking this really hard right now. Please keep us in your prayers. So I kind of I've spoken to these people, over Danielle and I've talked to these people over the past couple of days, and I think it's a little hard. It's a little fresh for people to come on here and speak on a live, but they, because they shared some information with us, they also in return asked that they could say a couple things. So I just wanted to give them that opportunity.
Yes, absolutely. I think it's also fair to mention that these family members and friends, they're scared.
Yes.
And they have every right to be scared. This is a scary situation. I could not imagine going through this. So from myself, and I know from Amy as well, and the whole WTAF team, you have our heartfelt condolences, love, support, and sympathy. We,
You do.
There's no words. There really is no words to say to make you feel better, but just know that we are real people and you know how to get in touch with us. So please reach out if you need anything, or even if you just need somebody to vent to or yell at.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for being vulnerable, and we know it's difficult. We appreciate everything I'm getting a little choked up. I'm sorry. Appreciate everything that you trusted us with. So, we'll do our best to honor your loved ones as well.
Yes, we will. I think we did have some questions, some questions that were asking.
Yes.
And we're going to go ahead and go over those because there's just some things that don't really make sense, that make us say, not that these victims were in any wrongdoing. It makes us question more so what's going on with the investigation or what happened that night. So one of them, for instance, is the FBI is involved now. And if I think most of the people in the chat, oh yes, Janet, we can do that. We absolutely can do that. I think most of the people in chat, being true crime followers, you know why the FBI is brought in. There's certain circumstances that they are brought in, and it's a good thing that they're there. It is, because the FBI has amazing resources, and hopefully they will help get this case solved much quicker. Not that Polk County is not capable of doing that. I just think that the FBI having the resources that small towns don't have is a great benefit. Is a great benefit to this case. Another couple questions we had are, what are the possible scenarios that led to this murder? It's kind of puzzling trying to figure out that, Damien was going out there. We now know that a woman has publicly spoke out and said that she was supposed to meet him out there, but had to cancel because she had obligations to her children, which is understandable as a parent. So he was going out there supposedly to fish, and who knew he was going out there? Who knew that he was going to be there? This very much seems targeted.
It does.
I personally think it's targeted. I do. I don't believe that this is some random act that happened. So let's see. And Carrie is in the chat. She said, no, this wasn't a hate crime. Yeah, I don't believe it was a hate crime either. And I don't know, let's engage with the chat. What are some possible
think-
scenarios that you think led to this murder?
I
Or
think
what
one
you
of the
think?
hardest. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, you're fine. Or what you think, Amy? What are your
Well,
scenarios running through your head?
I'm trying to type and mute myself and then come back. So there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes over here. So I think one of the biggest things that's hard for me is trying to decipher whether Damien was the target, and because he arrived first, because he had plans canceled, somebody knew he was there. Did the three of them have plans together? Um, there's a lot of weirdness there, and I'm not blaming anybody, but I do question Brandon's dad's actions that night. And only because today I was talking to Danielle and I was a little behind the eight ball, which happens quite often, we all know. And I was asking why Brandon's father didn't use his phone to call 911. Why did he have to leave the scene and go to the convenience store? And she explained to me, because I hadn't heard it yet, that Brandon, although he used his phone to call his father, his phone was cast off quite a ways from where he was. And I just have a lot of questions about that. Did someone pick up the phone and throw it? Quite honestly, I don't think Brandon had the strength to do it. Were the perpetrators still there when Brandon's father arrived?
Right. That was something I caught as well, because Grady did say that even law enforcement had a hard time locating that phone. So I feel like something had to happen between the time that Brandon called his father and said help and when his father got there. Perhaps we could speculate that the assailants were still there and caught him on his phone and took it and threw it. That's a possibility.
Right.
Yeah, and Linda Say in the chat is saying it was said the father left in a hurry and left his phone behind. Yes, that was said. So it's really interesting and thought-provoking trying to figure out what's going on here.
It is. And why, let's talk about why the FBI would be involved.
Right. Right.
Is it linked to another crime, but not a crime that's endangering the general public unless you just happen to confront these people? Is it something more organized? It's interesting.
It is. It is interesting. Another thing that keeps crossing my mind, and I don't know how to word it other than to say that Damien was the odd man out. And I already said this once, like he was the youngest of the three. And Brandon and Kevin were longtime best friends, and Damien was friends with, I believe it was Kevin more so. I'm not sure how close of friends he was with Brandon, but it just seems like is it a coincidence? Was it a coincidence that Brandon and Kevin just happened to be heading out to this fishing spot and came upon their friend being murdered out there? Is that possible?
It's plausible only because this was something that they did on a regular basis. And so maybe if they couldn't find somebody on a Friday night, they knew they were out by the lake and they had their spot. I would say it's probably more likely that the three of them had plans to meet up down there.
Right.
But and it might have been that they were meeting up in two cars because Damien had previously thought he was going out there with a girl.
Right. That's possible. That is possible. Trying to keep up with the chat. You guys have a lot to say down there, and I think we're all on the same page. We all have a lot of questions. Manda, I agree with you. I don't like coincidences either. I don't think there are coincidences. Personally, that's just me. Usually anytime you see coincidences, something's not right. And again, I'm not saying anything against the victims. I wholeheartedly believe that at least Damien was targeted. At least
Oh,
he
I
was targeted.
100%.
The other two, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if Kevin and Brandon were targeted. Perhaps whoever knew that Damien was going out there didn't know that Kevin and Brandon were going out there as well. Or maybe they did. I don't know. Maybe whoever was out there waiting didn't expect Damien, Kevin, and Brandon to arrive in 2 separate vehicles. There's so many questions and lots to speculate on here. What was another question that we had? Oh, this is something interesting I found out just prior to this live. The land out there surrounding the lake is all privately owned, and catfish is not listed as one of the fish in the state data about the lake. This the lake itself is not a fishing from the banks kind of lake. It has what looks to be about 3 private docks, and that road they are on is essentially a private driveway leading to private land surrounding the private lake. However, because of Florida laws regarding land or roads, sometimes they're made to be kept in place, such as this one. I have to do more research on that, so don't hold me to that. And another question we had was, why were the trucks parked in the opposite directions?
Right. So when they pull up, one car is facing towards the lake or in one direction, and they're kind of yin and yanged.
Mm-hmm.
So somebody had to turn around, or somebody had to come from an opposite direction.
Mm-hmm.
It's odd.
It looked like, so from the angle that the picture was taken, it looked like Damien was leaving the fishing area. Unless I have my directions messed up, because I'll wholeheartedly admit I'm like a right and left kind of girl and not a north and south kind of girl, or east and west. Like, tell me to go right, left, turn at this light, turn at that stop sign. So I could be looking at the picture the wrong way. The way I saw the picture and how the law enforcement vehicles were pulled up, it looked like Polk County investigators pulled up to that crime scene, and they pulled up behind the white truck that Brandon and Kevin were in. And that truck seemed to be going towards the lake, while Damien's truck was facing the opposite direction next to the truck that Kevin and Brandon were in, headed away from the lake.
Okay. So I had a family member just message me now
Mm-hmm.
and say that there are 2 entrances to that road.
Okay.
And because it's a road, sometimes Florida laws on lakes, even if they're private, if there's a road and it has a street sign that's named, then that area around the road, that embankment, even if it's overgrown, you can fish there and it's considered public.
Okay.
So that's something we just, you guys, I am not correcting Danielle on the air.
Oh, you can correct me all day long.
No,
I don't care.
no, but I don't want it to sound like that. It's just something that just came in. They're listening. They said you can go in by Otto Polk Road, and you can come off of 27 via that Lake Streety Road.
Okay.
So that may make sense that maybe they were coming from 2 different directions.
That makes complete sense.
Yeah.
That clears that up for me. So maybe they were both going to the same spot,
right?
Going to different directions, or they cross paths there. That's when Brandon and Kevin crossed paths with Damien, was right there at that point. That makes sense.
It does. And and they're saying it's open to the public. So, meh. We cleared that. We solved that Scooby-Doo mystery.
Yeah. See, guys, I'm not directionally gifted. I'll wholeheartedly admit that. I've got lost in my own town and I've lived here my own life. My whole life.
Right.
So that tells
Okay.
you anything.
Danny Tillman, he says, if you don't know that area, those dirt roads run around the lake and through the orange groves. So the meeting like that has nothing to do with one leaving or not.
Okay.
So
Thank you, Danny, for clearing that up.
yeah, thank you.
I'm not familiar with that area at all. So looking at it on a map, it just kind of, it makes it hard for us to decipher. I appreciate you guys clearing that up. If there's any family in the chat, we have somebody asking if we know if their fishing poles were still in the vehicle. Oops, I hit the wrong one. Hold on one second.
I don't believe there was anything removed that they're aware of, right?
Right.
Why could the lady not go? How much time did she have to decide? I think she had obligations with her children. I don't know how, if you're talking about the woman that was supposed to go with Damien, I think she had, was it like obligations to her children? And,
Yes, that was what she
yeah.
said. She had obligations to her
Right.
children.
Right.
Um,
Danny Tillman, you are Damien's cousin. I'm so sorry for your loss, and thank you for helping us out here tonight.
yes,
Thank you.
definitely. And I did just comment in the chat, if you'd like to come on and talk and just clarify some of this, you're more than welcome to. Please don't feel obligated to. It's okay if you say no pressure. I just want to read the chat for a second. It was dark. Shining Light asked if it was dark or somewhat daylight. It was dark, and I believe that Kevin's sister said that it was kind of raining off and on a little bit that night.
Right. I need to mute my mic for just 1 second.
Sure.
Otherwise, you're going to hear me typing because my messenger is blowing up. Just give me 1 second.
No, that's fine. I'm just going to engage with the chat here till Amy comes back. Let's see what you guys are saying. Looks like lots of love going up for the victim's family. You guys, we appreciate that. We are kind here, and we will always, always try to do our best to support the family and get their truth out there and get justice for their family members and the victims of these crimes. I agree, Stacy. Stacy DN, Texas. You just got on, but you was watching, and being from a small country town, we met up on roads like that all the time. One parked one way and the other way. Yeah, we did that here too. I grew up in a small country town. I mean, we drove out in cornfields sometimes. So
I'm back. I'm sorry.
Oh, Michaela, I'm so sorry for your loss. RGP gun. I'm glad somebody asked this. I may have somebody else asked it. I don't know. If I missed it, I'm sorry. But is it a coincidence that the girl decided not to go fishing with Damien? That is one of our questions.
Yes.
That is one of our questions.
Right.
And that's not throwing any accusations at anybody in any way, shape, or form. It just seems
somebody other than those three had to know they were there for this kind of ambush, in my opinion. And I believe it was an ambush. I don't believe they ran. I mean, I really can't create a scenario in my mind where they stumbled upon anything. It's possible, but that's not where my mind goes. And I'm not saying this person that canceled on Damien is responsible at all. I'm just saying it is a little odd that somebody made plans, didn't go, and then this happened. And if they're not involved, then they are just super thankful they canceled their plans that night and they have a guardian angel.
Yeah. There was another case that I covered for a long time where there were 4 people actually who canceled plans in one night that 8 people were murdered. So things happen, right? Things happen.
Absolutely.
Danny Tillman says, sorry, I clicked on. Okay, her daughter wouldn't go to sleep. Thank you, Dawn. From what is being said, Damien was targeted, and the other boys just got caught up in something not meant for them. That's what it seems like. That's what it seems like. It seems like they just happened to show up at the wrong place at the wrong time.
Right.
And sadly, they lost their lives because of it.
Right. What? Who can click? It says, okay. I'm sorry. I'm just watching something go on. I'm wondering if maybe Danny or somebody local to the area can explain to me why the gal from the convenience store rode out with Brandon's father, with Cyril Rollins.
Yeah,
Just,
some clarification on that would be great.
yeah, it's just a little, there's some
And
like
if
weird, just weirdness about that.
I know that we've spoken to several people today, and if anybody would like to come on and speak with us, please know that this is a safe space. All you have to do is, I think more of you are in contact with Amy than you are me. Just let her know and we'll get you a link to get you on here. You don't even have to say your name.
No. We've been on, how long have we been live now? An hour and 7 minutes. When we make a promise to protect your anonymity, we're good secret keepers. So,
Mhm.
yeah, I spent some time talking to Michaela Martin today, and she knows that Danielle and I are pretty much one and the same when it comes to dealing with people or whatever. I just think that she's having a rough time now. And we talked to some family and we talked to some friends. These people are scared.
Mm-hmm.
They are scared. And the other thing is they're being targeted on social media, whether it be something personal against them or for defending their loved ones.
Yeah,
And
just leave them alone. Seriously.
please
Quit
leave them
attacking
alone.
them. The comments alone, I think it is on, is it Damien's page? On one of
Yes.
his public posts. The comments alone on that are
Mhm.
disgusting and disrespectful. And obviously, we can't make anybody not do anything, but we don't do it here and we don't allow it in our groups. I said that
Yeah.
earlier today in a post. If anybody who's associated with WTAF, whether you're in a group, you're on our YouTube, our Twitter, our Instagram, our public page, if you were to partake in any of that behavior that we have seen, it would be
You won't be a part of this group anymore.
yeah,
Because you're
we
judged
can't.
by the company you keep.
Right. Yeah,
So,
and it's not fair. I mean, people are people at the end of the day. Nobody is perfect. Not one person in this chat is perfect. I'm not perfect. Amy's not perfect.
ah,
We all have oh my gosh, I told you you weren't perfect.
no.
I'm just kidding. None of us
I'm
are
just kidding.
perfect. None of us are. And we've all made mistakes. Everybody's got a past. It's not fair to rip victims apart because of a past or to rip their families apart.
Right.
Um,
So, somebody close to Kevin wants you all to know. We explained to you that Frostproof is a small town. It's kind of like southeast of Tampa. It's still considered Central Florida in a way, but it's like I think it's population 3,300,
mhm.
somewhere around there. And they're just saying, you know, they think it's somebody that one of those guys knew because people in Frostproof, I'm reading this verbatim, so because people in Frostproof know everyone and everyone is completely nosy. Small towns don't get that much action. So if there's somebody that doesn't live there or doesn't belong there, everybody notices. So I guess the common opinion among the group of friends and some family members, this had to be somebody they know. And that brings us to another point, because Danielle and I were talking about this earlier. This crime is described as a massacre by law enforcement. And then in media, we're hearing the term ad nauseum, overkill.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe when you have overkill, that's a personal thing.
Right.
You know, if you're doing that kind of stuff, it's somebody you know, there's hate, there's emotion involved. It's not your average, what would I say, like unknown assailant, or no, because unknown assailant means
This
we don't know who it
isn't
is.
this isn't something random.
And it's not a stranger crime.
Right. This isn't a
Right.
stranger on stranger crime. It's not something random. Stacy DN Texas, I do want to address this comment really quick. You said going into a victim's past is sometimes necessary, but it's horrible when people re-victimize the victim. Absolutely 100%.
Thank you. Yes.
We have dug into past, and at this point, that's not relevant. You know, it's not something that seems to be relevant to the crime. If it was relevant to the crime, then that's something that would be discussed. But even the sheriff himself is saying, leave it alone. Leave
Mhm.
their past alone. They're victims. You know, their past don't have to do with what has occurred to them or
Right.
what has happened to them. So let's, just we're gonna have to wait on and see what the truth is. There was another comment up here I wanted to read. Oh, Allie J said it. The police even confirmed that the poor father had to hold his son while he was dying.
Mm.
There's sucky people out there. Yes. Yes.
Danny Tillman, if you want to privately message us, if you want, again, no pressure if you want to talk, but he is saying they know them, and if you knew the truth, it would make your heart shatter. Well,
Danny, do you want to come on and talk? I can drop a link for you to come on.
You just need a cell phone.
Yeah, all you need is a cell phone. You're more than welcome to come on, and we'll give you this platform here for your family members, or one of your family members and his friends.
So there's a family member messaging me saying that they believe that the way that these guys were killed, they didn't even know it was happening because they didn't have any time to react. Like there's no real defensive wounds.
Right.
All right. Did he said privately, yes. Okay.
Danny,
Go
go
ahead.
ahead. Do you know how to find us on Facebook, Danny? I don't know if I can drop the link, or if one of our mods has the link to our public Facebook page, you can message us there.
Or you can email us at...
Yes, I'll drop our email address.
Yeah, it's wickedtruths@WTAF.net. And then we'll figure it out from there.
Yeah. And I will also drop our Facebook link to our public Facebook page, where you can message us on Facebook through your Facebook if you like. Danny, I think some people in the chat are asking if you have spoken to the sheriff. And if you don't want to answer that, that is fine.
Let's see.
Amanda just dropped the link to our public Facebook page. If you click that link It will take you to WTAF, Wicked Truths and F-Bombs, and there's a message button up there where you can message us directly, or you can use our email.
Sorry, I'm going to mute my mic for a second.
You're fine.
Okay. I hate doing this, but it's the only way I can do it, and we're trying to be respectful.
Sure.
There are some rumors going around about certain people and their past or whatever, and there's a lot of back and forth about whether or not it's true. So I'm not saying it's happening in our chat or in our groups, but if it's just a rumor and you don't hear it anywhere and it's a little salacious, then maybe just keep it to yourself. And if it comes up in another, this is the kind of channel where if it comes up in a way where it's relevant, we will discuss it. There's nothing off the table here.
Right.
Because we're a fact-based channel. So.
Right.
Okay.
Okay.
Did you just see that?
Yes, I got it. Sorry guys, we're multitasking here. We have messages coming in while we're live. So
I'll let you do that. You want me to handle the chat for a bit?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, perfect. Okay. Be Real says, what do you mean? People are talking about the victims and bashing. What the hell? Yeah, they do. And they do it all the time. And it is extremely, extremely hurtful. These people are already mourning. Oh, okay. So, I'm going to have to respond to that in a second. So the person I'm talking to privately, hang on just one second. I'll be right there for you. Robin Lane, Danny and Carrie, I'm so sorry for what is happening. It's heartbreaking and I cannot begin to imagine. Let's see. Yep, that's right, Manda. We're all about the facts and truth bombs here. Toy Airy, I've seen plenty of bashing in these chats and it's deplorable. Well, we're on patrol in ours. We don't allow that behavior. So let's see. Danette Costa, thank you, and Amy. The family appreciates the respect on what I'm hearing. You're the best. Well, thank you. So let's see. Let's back it up a little bit. Has anyone from Damien's family spoke out? Well, we're working on that now. Let's see. We have talked to some friends of Damien, and he was very, very loved amongst his friends. So let's see. Stacy D in Texas says, I think someone could be hiding by the water because it's easier to get away in a vehicle, I would think. Of course, I'm just speculating. Meaning they were sitting, like they were hiding by the shoreline, or they were on a boat. Because that's interesting. So let's see. Yeah, Freudian Slippers says, does this imply that there was an ambush, someone laying in wait for them? Yes, it does. It seems like seems to be a common opinion among the people involved in this case that these men were ambushed. Damien originally, and then Kevin and Brandon just had unfortunate timing. So let's see. Carolina girl sounded like one of the moms said her boy or the boys went fishing every other day. Suspects might have known this habit. Yeah, I've heard that too. But this was not, that's why we kind of started out the way we did. This night fishing was not uncommon for these guys and for some other people as well.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, good, you're back. There are some people that are close to this case that had concerns about people going down to the lake at night because apparently it can get so dark you can't see your hand in front of your face. And so people worry about other people and
right.
Right.
So people are asking if they could have escaped by boat. I mean, I'm sure that's possible, but the lake doesn't look that large. And from my understanding, they would have had to run a long way from where the vehicles were located to actually get to the water, correct?
Yeah.
I mean, it was a decent.
I think it was almost, wasn't it almost a mile?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a lot. In the dark, in Florida, and if you don't know how, I mean, I live in Florida and I've been open about that. We have, not only do we have the brush like everybody else has that builds up around lakes and stuff, but then we had the added loveliness of little swampy pits and palmetto underbrush, and it's brutal, you know. So
I would expect that this is going to be solved pretty quickly.
I hope so.
I think so. I think so.
Stacy wants to know, has anything been confirmed about the vehicle that was seen on the dollar store video? So that was a Dollar General, I believe.
Yeah, I've read that. I don't know if that is fact or fiction, rumor,
I don't know
speculation.
either.
Supposedly it was a blue vehicle, correct? Following Damien. I have heard that it was seen leaving and following him from was it a Family Dollar or Dollar General, something like that?
I think it was like a Dollar General. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think we know that to be fact or fiction at this point. That is rumor, just like Allie said. I literally I would guarantee that there is an arrest in this case very soon.
So there's kind of an elephant in the room. Do we want to talk about that, or?
Yeah, you can address it.
Okay, so this is coming from a family member. Damien was having issues with a woman. And
Wait, is this in the chat?
no, this is in private message.
In your private messages or the ones I'm reading?
Both.
Okay.
I'm good staying away from it. That's why I asked before I said anything.
Okay, yeah. I mean, no, I'm not trying to tease anybody, but I just swore my secrecy to somebody. So,
okay.
Okay. I don't want to go back on my word.
Okay. I'm getting it from another end, but we will. Yeah.
Okay. If your other end is different, that's fine.
No, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that because I'm the same thing. I don't want that person over there or that person over here thinking that anybody's being betrayed. So we'll just leave it. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, totally. Sorry, guys.
I think it's fair to say that this most likely will be solved very quick, and there was limited people who knew where Damien was going that night. Right. You know, the affair,
we can't really confirm that.
Yeah.
Everything has been hearsay, and the people, nobody involved. So Damien's not here, so he can't confirm anything. Mm-hmm. The other people aren't speaking, so it's only people speaking for them, and they're not speaking directly to us. So it's kind of hard to talk about.
Dawn, I've already confirmed that there's 3 boat docks at that lake, 3 private boat docks. I don't believe that there is a launch. I can say though, growing up in a small town, I grew up in a small town about the same size. We did a lot of the same things at night. I mean, I have a lot of friends that still go fishing late at night. It's not an uncommon thing,
No.
especially during the summer months. You catch more fish at night because it's not as warm. And
Well,
fish,
go ahead.
oh, fish tend to bite more at dusk and in the dark, and especially when you're fishing for catfish. Um,
Well, people go early, they go late night and early in the morning too, because
right.
especially down here, because not a lot, but it cools off. But like the bass sit on the beds during those times, and that's when you can kind of tease them, and that's something you can fish from for the shore as well. So yeah, it's not uncommon.
Yeah, it's not. I have to mute for 1 second.
Sure, it's no problem. Okay, let's see. Yeah, Tracy, you're right. In Florida, some places you don't need a ramp for jet skis and things like that. They also have these what they call like primitive boat ramps. So you're literally like sliding a boat down like a kind of like a muddy hill. You find those at the state parks a lot. Let's see. I just saw posted on that guy's page that he fought D over this girl. Okay. Yeah, I'm not comfortable talking about that. I'm so sorry, RGP Gun. Robin Lane. From what the sheriff said earlier today, Damien arrived first, and then Kevin and Brandon arrived together, and possibly while Damien was being attacked. Yeah, that is the general consensus, is that Damien was being attacked, and Kevin and Brandon, unfortunately, walked into that situation and didn't even have time to react. So Tambra says it was mentioned okay, I can't talk about that. I'm sorry. Earlier in the investigation, the police said Damon said something to his dad. Do we know what was said? That's a really good question, Gina. Or yeah, Gina or Jenna, I'm sorry. So it actually wasn't Damon, it was Brandon. And Brandon did say something to his dad, but that has not been released to the public. That is important information that they're keeping close to the belt. So, or close to their chest. I don't know how that saying goes. I can't remember.
Close to the vest.
There you go. Oh my God. I don't know why I can't remember things so simple.
Okay, so
What's
where
wrong?
are we at? No. I'm
Okay.
just trying to.
Yeah, so Be Real says, Gina, he told him he loved him, and the rest is not sure, but I could only assume he shared what he could about the incident. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, Allie, I think when he got there, when he was able to speak with Brandon and he left to get help, I think I can't imagine. I don't ever
Right.
want I don't want to walk in those shoes. I
Right.
God bless that man. Is it a stroke that he has since had since this has happened? I mean,
Yeah. So, yeah. Yeah.
I can't imagine. I don't want to know. My heart goes out to him. I mean, can you guys imagine having to make the choice of leaving your son there who's gravely wounded
Right.
in the dark on the side of this dirt road so that you could go and get help, and you have to drive away knowing that your son is probably going to be dead when you get back?
Right.
I can't imagine.
I don't want to. We kept talking about this earlier today, and it's just very difficult to think being put in that position. It's gut wrenching, and I can't even. What is Robin saying? I saw the father being interviewed. He said Brandon told him what happened, And then he went for help and he was in shock and didn't know what to do. So horrifying. It is. It is. It absolutely is.
Oh, wow. Okay. I do believe that law enforcement knows who did this. It's just a matter of time, like I would say in the next couple days, guys. I'm not just saying that, I'm just saying what I can say. Oh boy.
No, Carrie, it doesn't make any sense. I know. I'm so sorry. And I hope I hope everybody that knows all these young men get justice for them so that it'll never make it better or whatever. But I think justice is a step forward in the healing process.
Right.
Julie says, my heart aches for the father and all the families of these young men. Prayers for everyone involved. It doesn't matter what was going on. 3 young men died. Yeah, that's very, very true. And I don't think it happens so much in this group, but I've seen it in other places where there's a lot of judgments being made. So thank you for just reiterating that.
Slam RN, you said, why not pick up your son and take him with you? I think that's a question we asked. And to be fair, when you see Brandon's father on, I believe it was Twitter, there was a Twitter interview with one of the local media outlets in the area. He's older. I don't think that he could physically pick up his son
Mm-mm.
and load him into a vehicle. He needed to get to a phone to call 911, and he probably had to make the hardest decision he's ever had to make in his life.
And he's not in the best of health either, obviously.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, he's having a very difficult time.
Yeah, Choi, Ari, I'm with you. The young lady that accompanied the dad back to the crime scene is very great as well. She knew that he needed her with him and went. Yes, that is a very kind-hearted young girl who unselfishly, went with Mr. Rollins back to the location where these 3 gentlemen were dead and murdered. That, first of all, for a teenager to even have to go and see that, but she did that so that Mr. Rollins was not alone when he went back there.
Right. Let's see.
Yeah, Allie, he didn't look like he was in very good shape. I'm not saying he was like out of shape or anything, but I mean like physically, health-wise. And then I think there was confusion about whether he had a stroke or a heart attack. And I do believe I found the answer to that earlier, and it was a mini stroke that he has since had since this happened. There was family that had said heart attack, and like distant family had said heart attack, but it was actually a mini stroke.
Right.
There's a lot.
They did swap somebody. We're not going to say his name here because he's being attacked on other platforms. But yeah, they did. They collected DNA from somebody, and that person says, yes, they collected my DNA. So that's that. I just hesitate to say his name because he's having a hard time of it right now.
Yeah.
Let's see. So Jenna wants to know whose phone did they have a hard time finding? It was Brandon's, correct? I believe Brandon called his father. His dad jumps in the car, throws on some clothes, jumps in his truck, drives out there. People want to know. I wanted to know. I'm not even going to lie. I said, I was talking on the phone last night. I was like, why didn't he use Brandon's phone? Brandon called him. And then we went through the scenarios. We said, oh, well, maybe the phone was dead, or maybe there wasn't good service and he had to walk up to the road and that was a waste of time. I don't, all those things. But my understanding is that somehow Brandon's phone ended up separate from Brandon and quite a ways away.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't have an explanation for that. I don't. I only hope that Brandon's dad didn't walk up when, when other people were still there. And I mean, it's possible he was barely spared.
Right.
So,
Right.
yeah.
Yes. So I believe everything is going to come out very soon. There's going to be arrest very soon. And there's a lot of speculation right now, but I think that a lot of those speculation and rumors are going to be cleared up fairly shortly. That's just
Right.
my belief on what I've been told. And I don't know. I have to wonder, like, so when it comes to Damien, I wholeheartedly believe that he was targeted. I stand by that. I probably will never change my stance on that. I think that that will be further verified by law enforcement. I have to wonder if this was an actual hit on his life or if somebody just wanted to hurt him because they were mad at him and things went wrong. He ended up dead. And then his friends happened to show up and now they're dead too. At the end of the day, it is a horrible, horrible tragedy. And I have to believe that whoever is responsible for this will be charged with first-degree murder times 3.
I would hope
Especially,
so.
and they're probably looking at a capital case here. It's probably going to be a death penalty case.
In
Because
Polk County and in the state of Florida, yeah, I would think so.
right. And there seems to be there's premeditation. That's what I see.
Well, anytime you're ambushing somebody, you have to plan that. So yeah.
Right. Yeah. And I believe, what is it? Premeditation can actually only take up to 2 seconds. So even when the other 2 people showed up, when Brandon and Kevin showed up, there is that law when you commit murder while in the act of trying to cover up another crime, which is murder, the murder of Damien, then that becomes a capital case.
Right.
So
we talked about this in another case, because if you know the difference between right and wrong and you make the decision, even if it's in 2 seconds, to do the wrong thing, then that's on the table.
Right. Catherine B said Brandon's phone was hard to locate. Are you close to the case? Are you a relative of anybody, or are you just... I'm just curious. You don't have to answer me if you don't want to. Yeah, Stacy, in the commission of another crime. So when you kill somebody while in the commission of another crime, in this instance, it would be Damien was being killed or already killed, and Kevin and Brandon came upon the scene and were killed because somebody was trying to cover up their other crime. That becomes a capital murder charge right there, times 2.
Right.
Actually, times 3, especially if it's definitely going to probably be 3 capital murder charges.
Well, and if knowing the sheriff too, and just working with the people in that county, I'm imagining that. I mean, of course, charging them with a capital crime is like the pinnacle, right? But they are going to charge them with anything that they can, anything, every single thing that they can charge them with. So if they don't have a license for the murder weapon, if the bullets were illegal, if you know what I'm saying, like every single thing they will stack.
Thank you, Catherine. Yeah, I knew that the Polk County Sheriff had said that. We said that early in our live. I wasn't sure. It was, I think maybe I read your words out of context or something. I thought maybe you were speaking from a personal insight or something like that. Yeah, we totally knew that the sheriff had said that it was hard for them to locate Brandon's phone. So thank you for clearing that up. So
I think that might be a wrap for tonight.
I think so. We're going to continue covering this. I know everybody in the chat, there has been a link dropped several times. I'm going to drop it another time really quick for our Facebook group for this case, because if you're new to WTAF, once cases are solved, we will still cover them. We will cover them until the end and beyond. So
Right.
if you want to join the group, it is a safe place to join. We do not allow bashing of victims. We're not going to allow anybody to bash your family members. If you are a family member or a friend in the chat, we try to handle things with respect and integrity in our groups, as well as on YouTube and all of our social media platforms. Jesse McLean, what is your question?
So originally, sheriff said beat and shot. He's still saying that. I think in the second press conference, he didn't say it for both sets of victims. So there's the primary, that not the primary. There's the first victim, who is Damien, and then and then the second two were Kevin and Brandon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely. What I took away from that is that Damien was beat.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't know that the other two weren't beat, but I got more of the impression that the other two were caught off guard.
Right.
So everybody down in the chat, please show some love for the families of Brandon Rollins, Kevin Springfield, and Damian Tillman. Please join us in our Facebook group to continue this discussion. We will do more lives on this case. Make sure to show our awesome mods down there. We love and appreciate every one of you.
They're our bomb squad.
Our bomb squad, yes, they keep this channel going. Tracy L, you want to do the names by the pics before we go? I don't know if we can do that quick. Let me see what I can do here. Can you?
Oh, I can't. Well, no, I can't fix it while it's on the screen. What I can do is I can post it in our Facebook group and I can do a community post. But
Let me do this really quick. I can do this really quick, but go ahead.
Okay. So from left to right.
They can't see it.
They can't see that?
Nope, not till I get the picture up there. They can't see it because of our avatars and because of a comment up there. But I will get a picture up and share the screen really quick, and we'll show you from left to right who is who, so everybody knows which victim is who. Just one moment.
No worries. Yeah, we have some good sheriffs in the state of Florida, and Grady Judd is one of them. Infamous, and been in law enforcement, I believe, since like 1972, like 48 years of service. So yeah, committed. Oh, Terry, that's very sweet. Sending love and prayers to the family. So super sad. A lot of red hearts and praying hands. Hey, Joe. I didn't get to say hi to you. I'm always doxing you. Hello, Car Guy 72. Good Lord. Don't tell me it's... Well, I mean, I can keep secrets, but don't tell me to use a fake name because I already know it. Nope. Not happening.
All right, so their picture's going up on the screen right about now.
Folks, soul brother.
And I gotta pull a comment down really quick.
Okay, I gotta update my screen so I can make sure that I can see. Let's see, that's not working. So let's try over here. Let's see. I shall have comments.
Yeah, I pulled it down. It might take a second.
Okay, no worries. Oh, I see it getting better.
Mm.
It's getting better all the time. Okay, so from left to right, that handsome face belongs to Damian Tillman. In the center, that attractive young man is Brandon Rollins. And on the far right, we have the very handsome Kevin Springfield. So you've got you have Damian, Brandon, and Kevin. Kevin is the bearded one. And you can kind of tell that Damian's a little bit younger than those two. He has the baby face.
Mm-hmm.
But we can put that up in the community post, and we can put that on Facebook if it, if it's helpful. I love that you guys are trying to make the name and face connection. That's important. That means that you're truly, what's the word? Not involved.
Invested.
Thank you. Do you smell a role reversal here tonight? Like, how do you say? What do you do?
I blame it on the coffee. I'm drinking a little coffee tonight.
I don't have any coffee. Ugh. And so you had to take a drink.
All right. Yep,
Me.
I took a drink.
Oh my
iced
gosh.
coffee.
All right.
Brandon is not the youngest of the three.
It's Damian.
Actually, Damian's 23, Brandon is 27, and Kevin is 30.
Right.
So I think on that note, guys, we're going to sign off. Family and friends that have been in contact with us, please reach out to us.
Yeah.
If you need anything. We are here. We would love to speak with you privately, and support you and be there for you. We are so sorry for your loss.
Very, very sorry.
Yeah.
And for a couple of those people, if you feel like you need help, there's help through law enforcement for you. There are victims advocate programs and things like that. And I urge you, if you need it, to reach out, please. But we're here too. So, but we're not professionals. Mm-hmm. So we worry about you.
Yeah.
All right. Well, good night, Danielle. Thank you, everybody, for joining us this evening. And I think we have to talk about the next time we're going to be live. But
what's today? Is today Monday? So
Monday. Mm-hmm.
We'll probably be back on. Were we going to talk about this publicly or privately? I'm sorry.
I would say the groundhog gets a grape Slurpee after he gets out of the Honda. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you lost me.
I was talking in code.
Oh, okay. Okay. We'll be back this week, you guys.
Yeah, we'll be back this week.
Thank you for joining us. We appreciate each and every one of you.
Wait.
Oh,
they're reminding us we do have our apocalyptic hoedown.
We do. What's the date today?
Today's the 20th.
I knew I was going to say a date.
Yep, today is the 20th.
We will be back Wednesday. We will be back Wednesday for an end of the world watch party in honor of Lori. I'll say her whole name. Let me say her whole name.
Oh, okay.
Lori
wait.
Cox. Oh, I'll restart it.
Okay, go.
Lori Cox Yanes Lagoya. Ryan Vallow Daybell. Did I get it right?
Yes, Sylvester.
Got it right. Okay, so we're going to have an end of the world watch party on her crazy ass.
I'm going to have an end of the world hoedown because you know why. So there's a hoe going down.
Tracy L, I'm not sure what time yet.
Yeah.
Wednesday. What do I have going on Wednesday? I work.
Well, not only that, we have to get out our Aztec sundial because we have to figure out what time zone we're actually dealing with. And Tamara is our girl on the scene. She's got to look for the 144,000 people walking into her town.
Yes. Amanda suggested everyone bring a dish. If you've been following our channel for a while, you know that I love Taco Bell and tacos. So tacos are always appreciated at a party.
Yeah. Maybe there's a portal at
I'd
Taco Bell.
yeah, I'd say this. Oh gosh, if you know what, if there was a portal going to Taco Bell, I might join that
Oh
144,000.
no!
Just saying. No, I probably
Don't give
wouldn't.
her any
Probably
ideas.
wouldn't. So yeah, we don't know a time yet. It will be in the evening, afternoon, something like that. We'll come on here and make sure we're all still alive and kicking, and
We'll talk about it. Yeah.
we'll talk about it. Yes, taco nails. You guys are funny.
Yeah. All right. Good night, Danielle. Good night, everybody. I'm gonna say good night.
Good night, Amy. Good night,
night.
everybody. We appreciate all of you, and we'll talk to you soon.